Right, and we are live. Hey, lovely people. I am here today with the beautiful Judge Kelly. Listen, if you don't know about her, you're about to get to know about her today, okay? Today, for real, for real. Because sis is a bad mama jamma, and she has one story to tell. And so we're going to dive into the conversation about the life that she's lived and her role as a judge and what that entails. And so we are finishing out our Women's History Month series strong. And definitely she's one for the books. Okay. So, Judge Kelly, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. And so let's talk a little bit about your role. But first, before we get into your role as a judge, let's talk about your life, honey, because you got one interesting story. If you want to just go back to, I know you shared on your TikTok, but for people who are not your TikTok followers, let's talk about, your first child and everything up until where you are today.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Michigan City, Indiana.
Woo,
And for
woo.
those who don't know it, Michigan City is a small town in Indiana on Lake Michigan. It's not in Michigan.
Right.
Um,
Thank
right?
you.
A lot of people think, and it makes sense to think it's in Michigan because it's called Michigan City, but it
Absolutely.
is not. It is in Indiana, and it's on the coast of Lake Michigan. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
I was raised by a single mom. My dad was um, killed when I was young, and so my mom raised me and my sister alone. And unfortunately, I ended up pregnant at 15. And so I came from one of those old school religious families,
Yes.
it's just like pray about it, and you shouldn't be doing anything that the Bible say you ain't supposed to do. We ain't gonna
Right.
talk about it, you just don't do it, right?
Right. Right.
But in that, there's a lack of, when you have a lack of information with children and your youth, it leads the youth to try to figure out and experiment themselves. So, I'm a Christian, I love the Lord, but I also believe that you cannot just say pray. There has to be more
Come on
to
now.
the answer than just prayer. And that's what happened to me. My grandpa was a Pentecostal pastor, and sex was not talked about in my family,
Or in the church.
or
Like,
even
other than
church.
it's taboo, you don't do it. That's it. That's it.
Right.
If you're
That's
not
it.
married, that's it.
Unless you're married, no. So you
Right.
don't need to have a discussion about it because you're not married, right? And
Exactly.
actually, you really do. And I actually really needed that discussion because I ended up pregnant at 15.
Mm.
And, we were already kind of poor. She's a single mom with 2 kids. And here I go getting pregnant with her grandchild. Like, she can barely take care of us.
Right.
Here I am pregnant. So that was really difficult for me. But at some point during the journey of being a teenage mom, I had my daughter when I was 16. And I was always an honor student, graduated from Michigan City High. The first year it became Michigan City High.
Wow. Wow.
And and so I just decided that I really did want to do more than get a job to take care of my daughter.
Mm.
And despite a lot of people telling me, because I was on another podcast earlier this week, and I talked about community and how Michigan City community in my family was, if you have children, you graduate high school, you get a job, you take care of your family, and that's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And in my community and in my family, no one had been to a university before. No one had went to college.
Mm.
So they were not able to give me the advice
Yeah.
except for, no, you got to take care of your child.
Exactly.
And going away to school and kind of equated to them, because this is unfamiliar territory, that I wasn't going to take care of my responsibilities.
Mm.
And so I kind of bucked the system. The system was go to graduate and get a job, take care of your kid. I bucked the system by leaving that community and going on to college with my daughter. I took my daughter
Wow.
with me,
Come on now.
and I felt like that, listen, this was my responsibility, and I wasn't going to leave her with my mom or my grandparents. I was taking her
Mm.
with me. And that was a real big decision, a very scary decision, and a very hard decision.
Yeah.
But here I am today. Obviously, that decision worked for me, led me all the way through college, through law
Yeah.
school.
Amen.
Um, I became a lawyer and then decided to go on and again buck the system, and then I became a judge. So here I am.
I
That's
love
me in a
it.
nutshell.
I love it. I love it. So, with you being a teenage mom, how did that affect your social life?
Oh my goodness. So let me break it down. Now, one thing about me is I keep it real on all my podcasts, despite my title. I always keep it real. So I hope your audience is ready for that. Okay.
Come on, bring it. Yes, we keep it 100.
So like I said, I was an honor student and I always had goals of being a lawyer. And then when I became pregnant, it was like all the people who were supporting me started to pull away that support. And
Mm,
I'm not just talking about, friends. I mean, counselors at schools, at the school, the teachers, the same people who were putting me on this honorary path to succeed were
yeah.
now saying, yeah, I don't think you can do that. You need to. One of my counselor actually told me, and I really wish I knew who she was, and I really wish that she knew who I am today, so that
Mm,
she hopefully can learn that that was one of the most detrimental things that you can do to a student in my situation. But she told me that I had to give up my dream. She said, you cannot have that dream right now. So
no,
you
she
need to
didn't.
just, yeah. And she was like, you need to go to, like, maybe you can think of another trade, like you can become a beautician. And, I was thinking, where do you get beautician out of lawyer? Like,
Come on.
that's
Right,
not even
right.
close, right? And so, and in her mind, maybe she was trying to help me, but she literally took the wind underneath me. I mean, from beneath my feet. Like at that point, I just felt like I was already being looked at differently. I lost friends, like their parents didn't trust them being around the girl who had a kid because she
Yeah.
having sex. And I'm like, little do they know your daughter is having sex too. She
Come
just
on.
didn't get caught. She just can't hide it. I
Yeah,
mean, she
yeah.
can hide it and
That
I
part.
can't. That's the only difference, right?
That part.
So
Yes.
I love, some of my friends, their parents was kind of funny acting. And I'm not gonna lie, when my daughter got into high school, you have those apprehensions about the company that they're keeping. So I understand as a parent
Hmm.
why you would not want your child to be around someone who has a baby.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a child who has a baby, that is very hurtful.
Mm.
It caused me to have a lot of self-doubt and lack of self-worth because everywhere I turned, everybody was pulling away from me. I mean, my family loved me regardless,
Hmm.
but outside of my family, and you got to remember, my family they were disappointed because my grandpa's a Pentecostal pastor, and here I am, the
And they
grandchild.
probably made it make him look some kind of way because you got to
Yes,
help his image. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And
Totally
there's this
understand.
image that the pastor's family has to be like perfect, sin free almost,
Yeah.
and that's not reality. But we lived in that. We lived in that. We walked in that, and we tried our best to be that for him. So when I got pregnant, it did not look good. I already felt that guilt coming from letting my family down. And then I was losing friends. And I don't want to say losing in the sense that they weren't talking to me anymore, but I noticed I wasn't being invited to things or they weren't allowed to stay a night over my house. And then I had my my high school counselor telling me I got to give up my dreams. It was just one thing after another. And then I'm still up all night with the kid and I'm still playing mom. I'm trying to, as always state, is that here I was, a kid, trying to raise a kid to be a woman that I had not become. I'm a kid trying to raise a kid to become a woman that I had not become. So how can I teach this young, beautiful girl to be something I didn't even know how to be? So I already had
Mhm.
this internal struggle myself. And then I had these external forces that were playing into the areas of doubt that I already had within myself and exploiting it.
So would
And
you
so,
say it affected you as far as your mental health? Like, I mean, you
oh
see
yes.
all this, but was you still in a mentally stable place or did it really start to wear on you?
Oh, I know. There were times where I just wanted to die. I
Wow.
mean, I remember because, I mean, if I bag up a little bit, my father was killed. And I
Mm,
recall his going to his funeral. I was a little girl, but I recall that. So I was raised fatherless.
mm,
I was raised in a poor environment because my mom was struggling.
yeah.
And so I already came from very grueling circumstances. And then to set myself back even further by getting pregnant, it was just too much. And I just remember praying to God saying, do you hate me? Like,
Wow.
why am I here?
Wow.
You hate me, And so mental health was definitely an issue, but back then it's become a little bit more acceptable now in the Black community. But back then, seeking therapy was an absolute no in the Black community.
For real. For
But
real.
if you were a Christian Black community, it was really like, oh, that's just for crazy people, right? That's just for
You
crazy
just pray
people.
about it. And that's it.
Yeah, just pray about it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I didn't even, honestly, I didn't realize how much trauma that I was just pushing through until I was a lawyer.
Wow.
And I was a lawyer when I just, one day I just started crying, and it was uncontrollable and it was unexpected. That's what scared me, because, normally you can feel yourself getting emotional, getting a little teary, you're about to cry. I had no pre-warning, no symptoms that I was about to start crying. It just came out of me. And
so it sounds like you probably was just like wearing this tough facade for so long, like you just had to be tough, and then it just hit you all at once. Is that kind of what
happened? And Karen, I would say that it is what most Black women, you say tough, but I say we try to be strong.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And we're tired of being strong, man. Like we're just being strong. And that's what I thought I was doing. I was raised by strong women, my grandmother, my mom, my aunties.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so that's all I knew was, you don't cry about it. You get in there, you do what you got to do. You hold your head up, you keep moving forward.
Exactly.
But that was too much for me.
Especially at your age, it's just like you're 15 trying to be an adult at this point, basically.
Yes.
Trying to figure out life. And so I can only imagine how that really wore on you. But I want to know, when it came to like you pushing through, were there, I mean, I know you said there was times like you just wanted to die, but like what kept you going?
When people, I get that all the time, and I always say it's God's grace, right?
Yeah.
There were times where I knew that God was with me, not because of the way I was raised, but there were signs.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. My first semester of college, I was dirt poor. I was on welfare. I hadn't paid all my tuition. Like I was struggling. And I remember I had spent all the little money I had saved on cab fare to take her to daycare while I was in school. So I had to pay for a cab to get her there, and I had to pay for a cab to get me back on campus, and then I had to pay for a cab to get me back to pick her up, and then I had to pay for a cab to get me back on campus.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot per day.
Right.
And so I went through that money like so fast, and it was all spent on necessities. None of that was getting new outfits for a party, none of that. And so I remember sitting in my living room thinking, because I was upset with my family when I left, and I was mad that they didn't believe in me, and I felt like they had turned their back on me. So I didn't call anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to prove them wrong. And I was sitting in the living room thinking, I'm going to have to go back home because I can't afford anything anymore. I can get food with my food stamps, but I need more than that, right? And I went and checked my mail, and I went down to the mailbox, and there was an envelope, and it looked like a card, and it had my name typed on it. And I went upstairs to my room, to my apartment, and I opened it, and all these $100 bills just fell out.
Whew. Talk about being blessed.
And there was a name. It was like, in the front of it was an angel. They had took whoever did it, like cut an angel out of something and stuck it with glue on top of this blank card.
Wow.
And there was nothing in there that would let me know who this was. Wow. But I knew, I was like, this is a sign from God, because I hadn't told my family that I was struggling. No one knew this. I was very prideful. No one knew this. And so all of a sudden I just get this random, it was like $1,200, just random. And it was all crisp $100 bills, and it just fell out the envelope when I opened it.
I know you probably, did you break down crying? I would have cried.
I sobbed. And I was just like, thank you, Lord, because every time I wanted to give up, I kept getting these little signs. But more importantly, I knew that although I had those in my family who were like, you probably need to stay home, don't do that, I know this now. I didn't know it then, but they were operating from a place of protection and fear because they had never been, right? They had
Yeah.
never left the community to go to a university. And so for them, it was like, I can't help you if you go there and fail because I don't know how to help you. That's
Yeah.
foreign for me.
Yeah.
And so they, instead of, their reaction is, don't do it. Don't do it. Instead of, hey, I'm really worried about you going there. I don't know how I can help you. And so
Mhm.
I realized that now it was fear and not them not having my back. But what I knew then was I have to keep going because if I don't make it, those fears that they have are going to be even bigger when I
Yeah.
come back.
And
And
then
there's
it would have been I told you so and all of this and that. And yeah,
yeah.
I definitely could see how that could have played out.
And not only that, I had little cousins who could have secretly been waiting to see if I could do it so
Mhm.
that would verify that they could do it.
Yeah.
Here it is, Miss Shaquita, who is an honor student. If she can't do it, then I surely can't do it. So that was pressure for me to succeed. I
Wow.
couldn't go back. I couldn't fail because I knew that everyone was watching to see how this worked out.
So that was
And
your motivation to keep going, it sounds like.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's I love how you use that to motivate you because somebody in your position could have easily given up. And I mean, there's people who have given up after they
Mm-hmm.
hit that point, and it's like they hit the breaking point and
Yeah.
got, and then it's like all of a sudden you want to return back to home. And we got Jeanette on here. She's saying, "Hey, Quita."
Hello.
um, yeah, it's like in those moments you really just want to give up. But one thing I will say to that is it's really important that when somebody shares your dreams or share their dreams with you, and this I'm just speaking to the general audience, when somebody shares their dream with you, don't discourage. Like find a way to encourage because I mean, everybody's not built like Judge Kelly. I'm sorry. Everybody's not built like Judge Kelly, and everybody don't have that level of strength like Judge Kelly. And so it's really important that you be as supportive as you can, even when there's doubts. That's when you got to pray all the more. And so, Shaquita, are you still there, Judge Kelly? I think she froze. But one other thing I was going to say along those lines is oftentimes we would have the church just really shaming people, which I think we as a community of believers we have to do a better job and just not shame people, but we got to really learn how to encourage people in their walk. It looks like we lost Judge Kelly, but hopefully she'll be able to hop right back on here in just a moment. But yeah, we really have to get to a point where we encourage people in their journey. I know when I was in high school, I'll never forget a high school teacher had told me she entertained the fact that when I we got her back on, y'all.
Yeah, I think it's about the storm here. I'm so sorry because the
Oh,
Wi-Fi
okay.
just dropped.
No problem. But yeah, so I was saying when I was in high school, I remember a teacher told me that she entertains the fact that I would even um, graduate from college. And it was just like she was really trying to discourage me just because I had got like an A on one of her projects that she felt like I should not have gotten. And so I challenged her on it because I knew I earned that A and I knew I did everything right. And so at first it was like a bad grade and then she had to come back and correct it. But she was upset.
Mm,
It's like she did not want to give me what I've earned. And
mhm.
I share that story to let educators know if you're going to be in education, if you're going to be a counselor, like how Judge Kelly shared, make sure you are in the right field that you're suited for because you can't be out here discouraging students
Right,
and
right,
making people feel worthless just because they're not doing what you want them to do.
right.
So, yeah, I definitely just want
And you know, honestly, and sometimes those teachers are the only inspiring and influential aspect of the child's life.
oh
You
yeah,
know, some of these
absolutely.
kids are coming from very broken homes. And so if you're the only person that is there to uplift them and encourage them and get them to the next level in life, and you fail at that by poisoning them, I call it black magic, right? You
Yeah,
say all these negative, horrible things that you just, you know, just spouting out, not even realizing you are literally taking the wind out of someone or from
exactly.
underneath someone. but through your words. Educators are extremely important. It was an educator that convinced me to go ahead and go to college. That's
Mm,
I always say Miss Freitag. Do you remember Miss Freitag?
I do not.
Miss
I don't.
Freitag.
I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school in Michigan City High School. That's
Oh,
not.
okay, okay.
Yes,
Well,
I was
Miss
in
Freitag
Indianapolis.
was my she was the editor for the Michigan City High newspaper.
Okay.
And after the father of my daughter got shot, he got shot and was in the hospital. I
Mm,
was like, oh man, I'm just, my life sucks. And it
wow.
was her that poured into me and told me, you understand that these are just little stumbling blocks and you still can be anything you want to be. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, I can't. She's like, yes, you can. Stop saying that. And it was her that she go ahead and apply to college. You have the grades, your SAT score is good. And I was like, no, I can't. She stayed on me. And
Mm,
because of her is the reason why I always attribute all of my success to her because she planted the seed.
amen. And that sometimes that's all it takes is just having the right person in your corner.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, some people don't have that support system at home. They don't have it
Mm-hmm.
from their loved ones, and so sometimes it's really just the educators that
Yes.
give us that momentum. And I mean, I'm pretty much like you. Haters are my motivator. So
Yep.
as a phrase so it's like I
Yes.
that as momentum. Like if you say I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong.
I'm gonna
Yes, I
show
can,
you.
but everybody ain't wired like that.
Right.
Everyone is not wired like that. And so I commend you for even just going for it. And so what led you to the field of being a lawyer? Of all things you could have been, you could have been in and out of college. I mean, you
Mhm.
decided to go like the long route with the baby. Like
I know.
what led you to being a lawyer first and foremost?
So I'll tell you the funny part of how I became a lawyer, and then I'll tell you what really drove me to be a lawyer. So my grandfather is my hero. He
Mm.
is my hero. And everything he used to say, I listened to. I thought he was the first man that I really fell in love with was my grandpa.
Oh, oh.
But he used to always talk about how smart lawyers were. Oh,
Mm.
yeah, those lawyers are smart. Oh, yes, those lawyers and those doctors, they're so smart. And I was like, if I could be a lawyer, my grandpa's going to think I'm the smartest person, right? So that was my first, it was my first like reason to want to be a lawyer was to impress my hero. Okay. And
Wow.
then as I got older, and my mom later remarried a drug addict. He was on
Mm,
drugs.
mm.
And I just thought, and his addiction literally tore our lives apart.
Wow.
And I said, if I could become a lawyer, I could take all of the drug dealers and put them in jail and they won't ruin anyone else's families, right?
Mm,
That was
mm.
my mindset as I became a teenager. It wasn't about impressing my grandpa. It was more about how it affected my life, and I didn't want any other children to have that same impact.
Yes.
And that was the first real like, yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna fight for people to have safe homes.
Mm.
I'm gonna fight for them to be safe at home, and these kids don't have to worry about, their stuff being pawned or stolen because I'm gonna take the drug dealers off the streets. That
Wow.
was my motivation.
Wow. And so how long did you have to go through school for that? I mean, let me first, before you answer that question, let me just tell you, I was told by my godmother, she was like, oh, when you grow up, you're going to be a lawyer and I'm going to send you to Spelman College and this, that, and other, rest her soul. But once I got older, I was like, I can't see myself being in school that long.
I know.
Once I
Yeah.
found out like the truth behind it. And so it was
Yeah.
just like, no, that's not me. But how long did you go to school for
So
that?
undergrad, you're supposed to go for 4 years. I actually graduated early. I graduated in 3.5 years from undergrad.
Come on then. Yes.
And
Yes.
then law school is 3 years if you go straight through. If you do
Okay.
part time, I believe it's 4 years if you do it at night. Some students do it at night and they work during the daytime. So
Okay.
7 years total is how long it's supposed to take for you to get your law degree. And then
Okay.
there's the bar. And
Say that again. It was muffled. Then there's what?
oh, the bar. You have to take the
Okay.
bar after you graduate law school, and that is extremely hard. It's
Oh,
everything that people say it is. It's not easy
mm,
at all.
wow. And so after you did that, you worked in the law field I'm sorry, you worked as a lawyer
Mhm.
for a few years and then you transitioned to becoming a judge. What motivated you to go a different route?
So I practiced law in Indiana for 6.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I swore into the state of Texas and practiced here for 6.5 years. When I was in Indiana, I practiced domestic violence. I was a prosecutor. So I prosecuted domestic violence cases, severe domestic violence cases, high level felony cases. And, um, I loved it, right? I loved that field of work. And then when I came to Dallas, I prosecuted severe child abuse cases. So
Mm-hmm.
high profile child abuse cases, capital murder cases, everything that it dealt with someone mistreating a child on a high level, felony level. So
Mm-hmm.
after 6.5 years, and let me just say this, Kiara, I never once in my life imagined being a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Never wanted to be one. Never saw it in my future. Never
Mm-hmm.
saw it as a possibility until one day I had just won a capital murder case for a baby that was stomped to death.
Oh wow.
I was really excited that I won this case. It was a very hard case. And I walked out of the courtroom and everyone was, congratulating me. And the news was there and it was a big deal. And this one attorney came up to me and said, "Congratulations, you did a great job,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't dream big enough."
Mm.
And I was really upset by that because here I am in the height of my career and I am celebrating. And he just was coming down on me. He was like, he looked at me like, this is it. You don't dream big enough.
Mm.
And that set and resonated with me for a while. I saw him again later and I was going up to him to confront him about that. And I said, "Last time I saw you, you said something really rude to me." And he was like, "What?" I said, "You told me I don't dream big enough." And he was like, "Well, is this the last stop for you?" And I said, "I'm living my dreams." He said, "So is this the last stop for you?" And I said, "You say that as if that's a problem." He said, "It is because I see bigger things for you than you see for yourself."
Wow.
And I said, "And what do you mean by that?" He said, "You should be a judge."
Mm.
And I walked away kind of like, "Yeah, right. Me a judge." And then I really started to think about it. And it's like, why am I not a judge?
Mm.
I have the credentials, I have the experience. I know
Yes.
the law in 2 different states. I have 3 degrees. I have 2 law
Come on
licenses. Like what?
now. Come on
Why?
now.
Why am I not doing this? And so I
Yes.
started to do research, which is what I do whenever I decide to make a move. When I moved to Texas, I researched Dallas. I started to research different courts, and I found the court that I'm in now. It's a domestic violence court, which is my field. My
Mm.
field is, crimes that involve victims. So I decided to do it, and it was not an easy feat. It was very difficult, but it's, shame on me for not seeing myself bigger. And a
Wow.
lot of us don't. I
Yeah.
thought I had hit my dream, and I never thought that I was big enough for a judge. I never thought I was good enough, even
Mm.
with all those credentials, even with all those trials, even with all the people that I had trained and all that stuff.
True definition of imposter syndrome. Like just
True,
feeling like you're not good enough for
true.
wow. And
Yes,
even with everything that you studied and knowing all of that, it's just like, dang, you had all these credentials and still didn't feel like you felt fit the mold.
yes, exactly.
Wow.
And I think part of that comes from, you're right, it is imposter syndrome. And I
Hmm.
still suffer with that, even with all the things that I do. And people are like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
It's
I
a
just,
real thing. It's a
yes,
real
I
thing. I
just,
mean, I feel like that too. And I mean, people, it's interesting how people see you versus how we see ourselves.
hmm
Because I get it all the time. People be like thinking, Kiera, you just got it going on. You so accomplished this and that other. Yet I'm still feeling like, dang, I don't feel successful. And I don't know if
hmm
there's a feeling to successful. Would you say there's a feeling to that comes along with it? Did you ever feel like you was successful once you got to that position as
I think
judge?
what happens when you are a success driven person, when you reach one level of success, you've already started looking for the next, right?
Mm,
So that's why you never feel successful, because you're like, okay, So what's next?
Yeah.
And you're always just
True. Yes, so true. So true.
so,
Well,
and that's one thing I try to work on myself is like, okay, enjoy the moment.
yes.
Enjoy the moment, the now.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Listen, I know you're a busy person. This conversation is good. I mean, I can keep going. And I mean, but I know you got stuff that you probably got to get to. Um, and we've already technically reached our time.
Okay,
I
okay.
didn't have a, even though I don't necessarily have a cutoff time, but I want to respect your time.
Oh,
Um,
you're fine. You're fine.
so if people are interested in just following you, because I mean, let's just be real. You TikTok famous. Like for real, for real. This is TikTok famous. Like y'all might think I'm a big deal on Facebook, but nah, her TikTok is banging. Okay. Um, my Instagram's still trying to get there. My TikTok's still trying to get there. But my Facebook, I think we good. We solid on Facebook. But if
Yeah.
people want to follow you and just get acquainted with your journey, or if they are looking to even just get in touch with you for whatever reason, how can they do that?
Okay. So on all of my social media handles, I'm Judge Shaquita Kelly. And yes, so TikTok is Judge Shaquita Kelly. It's SHEQUITTA, just like here. I has it on here. Instagram is Judge Shaquita Kelly. And I'm with you. Instagram is like, it is a beat down. They do not want you to be great on Instagram. Like it's
Oh my goodness.
straight.
It is
They don't
not
want
easy.
you to be great. Like
You hear me? Like, how do my stuff on Facebook go viral and not on Instagram? Like, the same content won't go anywhere on Instagram. I don't get
that's how
that.
it is with my TikTok. My TikToks will blow up, and then Instagram I get like 100 views. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
So I am Judge
okay,
Shaquita on
right.
TikTok. Judge Shaquita
But
on
I know
Instagram.
one thing we did not get a chance to talk about is the hair shield. Can you share a little bit about
Oh,
that before we wrap up?
yes. So I created a product for women who wear hair extensions, wigs, weaves, clip-ins, tape-ins. And basically I was spending a lot of money on my hair extensions. I love hair extensions. I wear them all the time. I have long hair, but I don't want to deal with my hair, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
um, but I was spending too much money on it. Like I'm like
Mm,
buying hair every time I need to get my hair redone. So that's like every 6 to 8 weeks. And this hair is expensive. You pay
yeah.
$300-400. And finally I was like, I feel like I should be able to reuse this over and over and over again, but I'm not storing it right. So I
Mm,
looked for a way to store my hair and I couldn't find one. And so I made it. I made my grandma taught me how to sew. So I went and I got my sewing machine and I made like this kind of fake hair shield. And I put my hair, it's satin. It
mhm.
holds your hair in place so it doesn't tangle, it doesn't move. And if you wash your hair, you dry it, you put it in there, you can keep like I've had this hair. Well, this hair I've had since last summer, but I have hair that I've had since 2018 that
Get
I
out
use.
of here.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
it's and it's I sell it for $30. I'm about to be in a major retailer. I can't say who it is yet, but they have found interest in it, and so it will be in a store near you because this is a retailer that is
Come
everywhere
on,
in the
man.
world.
Hey, come on, making boss moves. This is what I call making history. So if y'all don't know now, Judge Kelly, she is definitely making history. Uh, Texas judge, and then also she has her own product. Like
Yeah,
that's how you make history. Because when sis leave this earth, her name is gonna be remembered. Her name is gonna be in
yeah,
the history books. Okay, so
yes. Speak
I
it.
I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out today. It was definitely a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for
And
having me.
again, if y'all want to get in touch with her, y'all make sure y'all go follow her social media platforms. She has things going on all the time. You can buy her products. Brunch with the Judge if you in Texas.
Yes,
Like it's
have a
so much.
scholarship.
Uh, See, yeah, she got a scholarship, and I mean, like I said, we didn't get around to everything, but she got so much going on. You definitely want to make sure you check her out. So, again, my name is Kiera. Thank you all for hanging out with us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.